There is a figure sleeping in the Louvre, not hanging on a wall, not standing on a plinth, lying on a mattress so soft it seems impossible that it is stone. And what you see is a woman, young, curved, one arm folded beneath her head, one leg drawn slightly forward, sleeping the way people sleep when they feel completely safe. She is one of the most beautiful things you have ever seen. And then you walk around to the other side, and everything you thought you knew rearranges itself, quietly, permanently. This is a film about what happens in that moment of turning, about a body that has been making people stop and stare and feel something they cannot name for over 2,000 years, and about why that feeling, that sudden uncomfortable awareness of your own assumptions, might be the most important thing art has ever given us. Every surviving version of the Sleeping Hermaphroditus is a copy. The Greeks made the original sometime around the 2nd century BC, and then it disappeared. What we have, what you're looking at in the Louvre, what sits in the Palazzo Massimo in Rome, are Roman reproductions, made by craftsmen who saw the original and understood immediately that it needed to be multiplied, sent out into the world, held onto before beauty had a chance to vanish. The Romans copied obsessively. They copied Greek sculpture the way we screenshot things that move us, instinctively, urgently, because something in us knows that beauty is fragile and the world is careless. So here is what that means for us. Standing here now, we have been captivated for 2,000 years by a reproduction of something no living person has ever seen. The original vision, the first moment someone looked at this figure and understood what it meant, is gone. And we are still here, still turning, still stopped in our tracks by a copy of an idea that outlasted the civilization that had it. That tells you something important about where beauty actually lives. Not in the object, not in the marble, in the encounter, in what happens inside you when you take that step and your certainty meets something larger than itself. But the sculpture is not just a trick of perspective. The story behind it is stranger than the body itself. Hermaphroditus was the child of Hermes and Aphrodite, the gods of crossing and longing. He moved through the world with his father's ease and his mother's grace. One day he came to a pool in Caria. In that pool lived a water nymph named Salmacis. She saw him, and she wanted him with the kind of wanting that does not ask permission. She embraced him. He pulled away. She held tighter, and she prayed not for him to love her, but for them to never be separated, for their bodies to become one body, for the boundary between them to dissolve completely. The gods answered, and Hermaphroditus emerged from the pool as both. Neither. Something that required a new word, a new way of thinking, a new understanding of what a self could contain. The ancient Greeks told this story not as tragedy and not as celebration. They told it as a fact of the world. And then a sculptor made it visible, lying down, sleeping, at rest in a body that the world had no clean category for. The Greeks did not make this to shock. Hermaphroditus was a deity, worshipped, considered sacred across the ancient Mediterranean world, a figure who embodied the dissolution of the boundary between opposites, who showed that the categories we use to organize the world, this or that, one thing or the other, are human inventions, useful fictions, not the truth of things. The sculpture is not an argument, it is simply a body, sleeping, completely itself, and 2,000 years of human discomfort with that image tells us far more about us than it does about the marble. In 1608, a Roman cardinal named Scipione Borghese acquired one of the surviving versions of the sculpture. He looked at it and decided it needed something, a mattress. He commissioned Gian Lorenzo Bernini, the man who would go on to reshape Rome itself, to carve a marble mattress for the figure to lie on. Bernini, who could make stone look like flesh and drapery look like it was caught mid-billow in a real wind, carved a mattress so convincing that people have reached out to touch it for 400 years, certain for just a moment that it will give under their fingers. It does not. It is stone. But think about what that mattress changed. The original sculpture communicated something specific, a god, elemental, existing outside the domestic, outside the soft furnishings of ordinary life. Bernini's mattress domesticated it. Suddenly the figure is comfortable, tucked in, vulnerable in the particular way that sleeping, makes all of us vulnerable. 3 civilizations built this sculpture, the Greeks conceived it. The Romans multiplied it, and a Baroque cardinal decided that what a Greek deity needed was a mattress from the best sculptor in Europe. We cannot help ourselves. We cannot stand in front of something and leave it alone. We add to it. We make it more familiar, more like ourselves, more comfortable to look at. The Venus de Milo had her arms removed by time. The Sleeping Hermaphroditus had a mattress added by ambition. And the figure lies there still, sleeping through every century, every addition, every attempt to make it fit into a world that was not built for it. Let us go back to that moment. You walk in, you see a sleeping figure from behind. You carry your assumption across the room with you, the way we carry all assumptions unconsciously, certain they are simply the truth of things. And then you turn, and what is revealed in that moment is not the sculpture. What is revealed is you, your assumptions about bodies, your assumptions about beauty, your assumptions about who is allowed to be looked at with that particular quality of tenderness and desire that this figure, from behind, quietly invites. The sculpture is a mirror, not a reflective one. It does not show you your face. It shows you something harder to look at, your certainties, the invisible architecture of everything you assumed without knowing you were assuming it. This is what the ancient Greeks understood about Hermaphroditus, that the dissolution of a boundary does not destroy the things on either side of it. It reveals that the boundary was always invented, always a simplification of something that was, underneath, more complex and more whole than any single category could hold. A body that is both is not half of two things. It is entirely itself, sleeping through 2,000 years of human certainty about what a body is supposed to be. Not asking for your approval, not waiting for your understanding, just here. The marble is warm under the Louvre lights. The mattress looks soft. The face on the side you see first is peaceful. Someone completely at rest in themselves. Someone who stopped explaining a very long time ago. Every time we have tried to make beauty simple, this is acceptable, and that requires explanation. This makes sense. And that needs a cardinal's mattress to make it comfortable. We have made ourselves smaller than the thing we were trying to describe. The pronoun itself becomes insufficient standing in front of this figure. She, he, they, each one true, each one partial. Language doing its honest best and falling just short, which is perhaps the most truthful thing language has ever done. The original sculptor's name is lost. The original marble is gone. What remains is the copy, and the mattress, and the moment of turning. And what that moment does to you, that is enough. That has always been enough. The Greek original has never been found. Nobody alive has ever seen it. What we have are the Roman copies, spread across the museums of Europe like ripples from a stone dropped into still water so long ago that the stone itself dissolved. We do not know the original sculptor's name. We know Bernini's name, because Bernini was famous, and the famous get remembered. The others were absorbed back into the stone they worked with. But the figure remains, sleeping itself, waiting for you to walk around to the other side and find out something true about the world and something truer about yourself. The Sleeping Hermaphroditus. Still here, still waiting.